I'm standing in my basement at 2 in the morning, practicing Spanish curse words in front of a mirror like some middle-aged idiot auditioning for a telenovela. The irony isn't lost on me. 6 months ago, Laura called my language hobby embarrassing and a waste of time for someone your age. Now here I am, 44 years old, fluent enough to understand every filthy word she whispers to her lover. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Yeah, her lover. The thing about learning languages is that people forget you're doing it. They get comfortable. They say things they shouldn't, right in front of you, assuming you're too stupid or too old to understand. My wife made that mistake 3 weeks ago when she took a phone call in our kitchen, giggling like a teenager, dropping Spanish phrases she thought were her secret code. Te amo, mi vida, she'd whispered, her back to me. Greg will never know. Greg knows everything now, Laura. My name's Greg Bennett, and I'm an IT project manager, which means I'm very, very good at planning, executing complex strategies, and documenting evidence. I'm also extremely good at holding grudges. It started innocently enough. Mrs. Callahan, our nosy neighbor, mentioned seeing Laura at night classes with a devastatingly handsome instructor. I'd laughed it off initially. Laura worked long hours at her tech startup, climbing the HR ladder with ruthless efficiency. She was ambitious, driven, dismissive of anything that didn't advance her career, including our marriage. But Mrs. Callahan's comment nagged at me. So I did what any suspicious IT professional would do. I checked Laura's laptop. She'd gotten sloppy, left her email open. The messages were all there, hundreds of them, mostly in Spanish. Suggestive, explicit, detailed plans for meetups, conferences, hotel rooms. His name was Derek Foster, language instructor at the Boston Institute of International Communication. Wealthy, arrogant, spoke 6 languages fluently, the kind of guy who wore expensive cologne and used words like exquisite unironically. The message that broke me was simple. Your husband will never know. See you at the conference, mi vida. I sat there in our home office, staring at those words, feeling something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. Not heartbreak. I'd stopped loving Laura months ago, maybe years. No, this was something different. This was the fury of being underestimated, dismissed, mocked. Laura thought I was harmless, boring Greg with his silly language apps and his stable job and his predictable routines. She was about to learn otherwise. Phase 1 of my revenge was simple. Infiltrate. I enrolled in Derek's advanced Spanish conversation class under a fake name, Miguel Torres, grew a beard, wore different glasses, dressed in clothes Laura had never seen. Derek didn't recognize me. Why would he? To him, I was just another middle-aged student trying to recapture lost youth. But I recognized him immediately. Tall, tanned, with that practiced smile he probably used on every woman who walked through his door. He flirted shamelessly with the female students, dropping compliments in multiple languages, touching shoulders unnecessarily. I recorded everything. You have such a gift for languages, he told a young woman named Rebecca, his hand lingering on her arm. Perhaps we could practice privately sometime? The same line he'd used on Laura, according to her emails. I also started following him. Learned his routines, his favorite spots, his weaknesses. Derek loved his vintage Ducati motorcycle more than anything. He'd posted about it constantly on social media, called it his pride and joy. Good to know. Meanwhile, at home, Laura grew increasingly distant. She'd come home late, shower immediately, check her phone constantly. When I asked about her day, she'd give vague answers, her eyes already glazed with boredom. How's work? I'd ask. Fine. Busy. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I understood plenty. One evening, I tested the waters. Laura was texting furiously, smiling at her phone. That's a lot of Spanish, I said casually. Didn't know you were studying. She nearly dropped her phone. What? Your texts. I can see Spanish words from here. Taking classes? Her face went through several colors before settling on defensive red. It's for work. International clients. Not that you'd care about career advancement. The dig was automatic, reflexive. Everything with Laura came back to my supposed lack of ambition. Right, I said. Career advancement. With Derek Foster? She went pale. How do you? Mrs. Callahan mentioned your handsome instructor. I smiled. She's very impressed with your dedication. Laura recovered quickly, laughed it off. She's a gossip. Yes, Derek's my instructor. He's very professional. You're not jealous, are you? Of course not, I lied. Why would I be? That night, she was extra affectionate, clearly worried I suspected something. I played along, let her think she'd fooled me. Stupid, trusting Greg. Phase 2, public humiliation. Derek frequented O'Malley's pub downtown, usually Thursday nights. I'd learned this from following him. IT guys make excellent stalkers, were naturally patient and detail-oriented. I also learned Derek had an ex-girlfriend named Patricia who still carried a torch and a grudge. She worked as a paralegal, sharp as a knife, and twice as dangerous when provoked. So I provoked her. "You're Patricia, right?" I approached her at the bar one Thursday. "Friend of Derek Foster?" Her expression soured immediately. "Ex-friend. Why?" "Just thought you should know he's engaged now. To one of his students. Married woman, actually. Pretty serious from what I hear." I showed her a photo I'd taken of Derek and Laura kissing in a parking garage. Patricia's face went nuclear. "That son of a... He told me he wasn't seeing anyone. He said..." She stopped, grabbed her phone. "Where is he?" "Usually here by 9. Derek arrived at 9:15, confident and smiling, clearly expecting a quiet drink before meeting Laura. Instead, he found Patricia waiting. The scene was spectacular. She confronted him in front of the entire bar, loud enough for everyone to hear every detail of his cheating, his lies, his pattern of seducing students. Derek tried to calm her down, but she was relentless. "How many this time, Derek? How many married women are you screwing?" The bartender looked uncomfortable. Other patrons pulled out phones, recording. Derek's face went from confident to panicked. I watched from a corner booth, sipping my beer, thoroughly enjoying the show. Derek fled after 10 minutes, his reputation in that bar permanently destroyed. Patricia sat down, ordered a whiskey, and looked satisfied. Small victories. The parking garage incident happened next. I followed Derek and Laura to their usual meet-up spot, a covered garage near the Language Institute. They thought they were being careful, but they were predictable. Same place, same time, every Tuesday. I waited until they went upstairs to Derek's condo, then went to work on his beloved Ducati. I didn't damage it. That would be criminal. Instead, I removed the distributor cap, deflated the tires slightly, and left a note tucked under the seat in perfect Spanish. "You're not the only one who speaks the language of betrayal. A fellow linguist." Then I disabled Derek's Mercedes. Nothing permanent, just enough to strand him. Another note on the windshield. Karma is multilingual. Laura came home furious that night. "Someone vandalized Derek's car and his motorcycle. Can you believe it?" "That's terrible," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "Did they catch who did it?" "No, the garage cameras were down. Derek thinks it's a jealous ex-student." "Probably," I agreed. "He seems like the type to inspire jealousy." She shot me a suspicious look but said nothing. I waited 3 days, then confronted her. We were in the kitchen. Laura was making coffee, still in her work clothes, checking her phone every 30 seconds. I spoke in Spanish. Perfect, fluent Spanish. "So when were you planning to tell me about Derek, mi vida?" She dropped her phone. "What did you just... You don't speak. Your husband will never know," I quoted from her emails. "See you at the conference." Sound familiar? Laura's face cycled through shock, fear, anger, then settled on defiant. "You went through my private messages? That's a violation of... Of what? Trust? Interesting argument from someone screwing her language teacher. It's not... We're not... She stopped, recalibrated. "You're overreacting. Derek and I are colleagues, friends, nothing more. I have photos, Laura, videos, emails going back 8 months. I know about the hotels, the conferences, the lies you told your friends to cover for you." She went very still. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. You've spent years treating me like I'm stupid, boring, beneath you. You mocked my hobbies, dismissed my interests, made me feel small. And all the while, you were planning your exit strategy with some polyglot pretty boy who probably has 3 other married girlfriends. Derek loves me. Derek loves Derek. And you're convenient. But here's what's going to happen now. You're going to experience what it feels like to be humiliated, to be exposed, to have everyone know exactly who you really are." Laura's eyes narrowed. "You're threatening me." "I'm promising you." She laughed, bitter and sharp. "Fine, divorce me. I'll take half of everything. My lawyer will destroy you." "Already moved the assets," I said calmly. "Separate accounts, all legal. Consulted with 3 lawyers. You'll get what you're entitled to by law, nothing more. And good luck explaining to your HR department why you're being divorced for infidelity. Pretty sure that violates your company's ethics policy." Her face went white. "You wouldn't... Try me." That night, Laura tried to gaslight me, then threaten me, then seduce me. None of it worked. I'd spent months planning this. I wasn't going to fold now. Phase 3, the conference. The International Business Communication Conference was Laura's big moment, her chance to present alongside Derek, showcasing their collaborative approach to cross-cultural HR strategies. They'd been planning it for months, using it as cover for their affair. I volunteered as a last-minute Spanish translator. The organizers were thrilled. Apparently, their original translator had canceled. Food poisoning. Tragic. I may have sent him a gift basket with some questionable seafood. Untraceable, of course. Laura didn't know I'd be there. Neither did Derek. The conference center was packed. Hundreds of HR professionals, business leaders, international clients. Laura and Derek took the stage, confident and polished. They looked good together, I had to admit. They'd probably practiced this presentation in bed. Then I stepped up to the translator's booth. Derek began his speech in English, pausing for Spanish translation. Standard procedure. Except I didn't translate what he actually said. When Derek said, "We believe in authentic workplace relationships," I translated, "I believe in seducing married women during work hours." When he said, "Trust is the foundation of corporate culture," I translated, "I've been lying to my employer about my inappropriate relationships with students." The Spanish-speaking audience started murmuring. Some looked confused, others looked shocked. Laura noticed something was wrong, but couldn't figure out what. Derek kept going, oblivious. By the time someone alerted them to the mistranslation, half the room was laughing, the other half was appalled, and social media was exploding with clips of the disaster. Derek stormed off stage. Laura tried to salvage the presentation, but the damage was done. I left the translator booth, walked past security, and disappeared into the crowd. That evening I found Derek at the hotel bar, drinking heavily. "Rough day?" I asked, sitting beside him. He looked at me, eyes unfocused. "Who the hell are you?" "Miguel Torres, from your Spanish class, though you might know me better as Greg Bennett." Recognition dawned slowly, then horror. "You, the translator?" "That was me, and the parking garage, and Patricia at O'Malley's, and about a dozen other little surprises you've been experiencing lately." Derek tried to stand, swayed, sat back down. "You're insane." "No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to end things with Laura, tonight. You're going to leave Boston, and you're going to pray I don't send the evidence I have, the inappropriate messages to students, the ethics violations, the fraud, to your employer, your wife, and every news outlet in the city." "My wife?" Derek's face went gray. "Oh, did Laura not mention you're married? Interesting. Seems like honesty isn't anyone's strong suit in this relationship." I pulled out my phone, showed him the file I'd compiled. Emails, photos, financial records showing he'd been using institute funds for personal expenses. "You have 24 hours to disappear, Derek. After that, this goes public." He stared at the evidence, then at me. "You can't—" "I already have copies with my lawyer, my accountant, and 3 friends with instructions to release everything if anything happens to me, so don't get any stupid ideas." Derek's hands were shaking. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't just take what belongs to someone else without paying for it, and I want you gone." I stood up, dropped a 20 on the bar. "Have a nice life, Derek, wherever it takes you." Laura's downfall was slower, but more satisfying. Kristen, Laura's best friend and confidant, had been covering for her for months. But Kristen had her own agenda. She wanted Laura's job. When I approached her with evidence of Laura's affair and ethics violations, she didn't hesitate. "I always knew Laura was using me," Kristen said. "She's been blocking my promotions for years." Together we compiled a report for Laura's HR department. Inappropriate relationship with a vendor, Derek's institute had contracts with Laura's company, misuse of company time, ethics violations, potential conflicts of interest. Laura was suspended pending investigation. Her friends at work, sensing blood in the water, distanced themselves immediately. The same people who'd covered for her, who'd laughed at her jokes about her boring husband, suddenly couldn't remember her name. Derek fled Boston 3 days after the conference. Moved to Seattle, according to social media. His wife filed for divorce. The Language Institute terminated his contract. Laura tried to reach him. He blocked her number. The final confrontation happened at O'Malley's pub, of all places. It wasn't planned. I hadn't gone there hoping to see her. I'd simply wanted a quiet drink, a cold beer in hand, a chance to finally breathe after months of chaos. Word had already spread through the city like wildfire. Laura's suspension from Sterling Consulting, Derek's sudden disappearance, the disastrous fallout at the international conference. Everyone knew the story now, at least in the broad strokes. The cheating HR executive and her charming con artist lover, brought down by a mysterious whistleblower who knew more than he should have. I never admitted it publicly, but that whistleblower was me. The pub was half full that night. The Red Sox were on the muted TV above the bar, the air thick with the smell of fried food and spilled beer. I was sitting on my usual stool near the end, quietly celebrating with my pint, when the door creaked open. I didn't need to look up to feel the shift in the room. Conversations dipped, and the bartender raised his eyebrows. When I finally turned, Laura was standing in the doorway. She looked terrible. Her hair, once meticulously styled, hung limp and greasy. There were dark circles beneath her eyes, and her blazer was wrinkled, like it had been pulled off the floor of her car. Her heels clicked on the worn wooden floor as she walked straight toward me. Her gaze was locked, furious, unflinching. "You destroyed my life," she hissed, leaning close enough that I could smell the stale perfume on her collar. I took a calm sip of my beer before answering. "No, Laura. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone else could see it." Her lips trembled, but her anger forced the words out. "Derek left me. My job is gone. My friends won't even return my calls, all because you couldn't handle—" "Handle what?" I interrupted. "Your affair? Your lies? Your complete lack of respect for our marriage?" I let my voice carry just enough to be heard by the tables nearby. "I handled it perfectly. I just didn't handle it the way you expected." A silence settled around us. Even the bartender, pretending to polish a glass, was listening. Laura's shoulders sagged slightly, and her fury gave way to something rawer. "I loved him," she said at last, and for the first time she sounded broken. I shook my head slowly. "No, you didn't. You loved the excitement, the secrecy, the feeling of getting away with something. But love?" I leaned in, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "Love means sacrifice, loyalty, work, and you didn't love him, Laura. He certainly didn't love you." Her eyes glistened, the tears threatening to fall. "What do you want from me? An apology? Will that fix it?" I studied her face, the same face I once thought I'd grow old with, and felt no anger, no longing, just clarity. "I wanted you to understand what it feels like to be dismissed, to be underestimated, to be betrayed, and now you do." I raised my glass in a mock toast, and the bartender, catching my meaning, smirked. Around us, phones had begun to appear, screens glowing, recording every word. Laura realized then what I already knew. She was the entertainment now. Her downfall was content for strangers, gossip for coworkers, fuel for social media. Her face crumpled. "I'm sorry," she whispered, so softly that I barely heard it over the hum of the bar. "Too late for that," I said. She fled then, shoving past a couple at the door, her sobs trailing behind her. One of the patrons muttered, "Damn," and another laughed. Within minutes, I saw the first video go live on someone's feed. By morning, it would have 10,000 views. By the end of the week, everyone in Boston would have seen Laura Brennan's last stand. I finished my beer in peace. When the glass was empty, I set a 20 on the counter, nodded to the bartender, and walked out into the cool Boston night. The city lights glowed against the harbor, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to satisfaction. It wasn't happiness, not exactly. Happiness was too fragile, too fleeting. This was steadier, sharper. Turned out the best revenge wasn't living well. It was speaking the truth and doing it in 2 languages. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. That's right in the comments from which city you are watching.